Okay, let's start. Nice to meet you guys here on Drupal camp. It's a huge Drupal camp for Belarus in this year. And we are going to talk a little bit about performance, in general performance for websites, a little bit theory, how we can improve this performance as Drupal developers, as normal developers, and so on. My name is Igor Cheledinov. You know me a lot, I think. And I'm a huge performance fan. I work with Drupal last 10 years. I started when Drupal version was 5 and built a lot of sites using Drupal 6, 7. And right now we are all working with Drupal 8. And Drupal 8 has a really great things for improved performance. I have to mention that right now I'm working in a PAM company, and my position is solution architect. Finally, I'm happy to present you a guy who helped me today. It's Andrei. Andrei, who initially started Drupal community in Belarus, and he bring me to this community, and it's a pleasure for me that he helped me today. So, we are going to talk about performance. Why performance is important for websites? Do you know? Any ideas why it's important? There are a lot of research which says for us, performance of websites really important for your clients. For example, if you are selling something in the internet, some research says that 30% of users will not buy in your store, online store, products if your site is slow. It's important from SEO perspective, and it's my personal pain, finally. Just because I hate slow things. We are living in terrible time because we have more powerful computers, powerful CPU, we have a lot of memory, and we have slow web. It's terrible. But just imagine our developer, one of our developer, let's say, guy who know you or whatever, bring some important JS library from GitHub. He found it on Stack Overflow, bring the project and commit it and push into production. But this library took half of my CPU on laptop. And it's important that we can calculate how many power your laptop will spend, how many people will visit this site, and how this small JS library will affect whole country electricity and power. Okay, but finally, we have to decide what is performance. What is performance for you when you visit Google, for example? Who can answer? Okay, but it's developer vision. Let's look from another point of view, from client side. For clients, it's very important. Fast loading, fast surfing, fast animation, fast reaction on clicking button, better UI and UX. Mostly of all things should be fast. Otherwise, our clients will not satisfy with your website. We have to limit this presentation. We will not talk about client-side and JS optimization, because otherwise we don't have time. And I'm going to share just my opinion with you. how you can affect performance on your projects. So let's take a look. It's typical model of web. We know that we can, as developers, optimize server side, client side, and something between. Something between it's request and response. Who knows how we can do this? For example, server side. You're right, caching. Request and response. Sure, you're right. Okay. We are going to talk a little bit deeper on these topics. And we need to find a way how to detect performance issues. In my practice, I usually use something like MySQL slow log. For server side, we're talking about PHP XHProf, debugger, profiler. Of course, first thing I think in your practice should be web developer tools in your browser, because it's one of famous tools which can help you to detect any performance. Because usually user says, okay, your site's slow, and you cannot understand where it's slow. These tools can help you to detect problem with network, probably it's on client side, or backend leaks issues. Let's start from request and response optimization. It's named bandwidth optimization. Drupal 8 has great possibility to minimize number of requests. You can just enable aggregation of CSS files and JavaScript files. Why we need this? As I mentioned, just minimize number of requests to your server. You don't need to push your client, customer, user to download whole your bunch of files. Just aggregate it and send in one aggregated file. That's it. There are a lot of additional files, models, sorry, which can help you to minimize requests and make people a little bit happier. Advanced CSS and JS aggregation, it's separate model, and bunch of models which are implementing lazy loading paradigm. Do you know what it does mean? Okay, you should not push your users to download all your images on your site right now in one request. Lazy loading will help you just download pictures by when you see it, and that's it, by scrolling. Facebook doing this, a lot of sites doing this. If you have on your page a lot of pictures, I recommend you to implement lazy loading. And of course, content delivery networks. Can you help distribute static content much faster? You don't need make requests to your server. You can cache static content on CDN and so on. For example, if I am from China and trying to see some websites from United States, it's so long ping between these countries. That's why people invent content delivery networks. For Drupal 8, we have module which can help us to enable CDN, but you have to buy some CDN providers like Akamai and so on. But it's an interesting thing. I'm surprised that really small amount of sites using this feature. This feature named parallel downloading. You can use this model, CDN without CDN provider, and just move your static content to another domain name. what happens here? You have site example.com, and modern web browsers support about 4-6 parallel connection to your host name. It's limited by domain. And browsers start download pictures, static files, CSS, and so on, just one by one. If you move your static content, for example, to another domain, it can be alias, another host name. Probably you will serve this content much faster. But you should remember, huge amount of these domains, it's also bad idea because you will, it will affect network on client side, and of course, it will be downloaded really slowly. And I'm a little bit confused and worried. Just stop me if you cannot understand me. Okay? So, another thing, it's HTTP caching. I hope you're familiar with this. And these things are really great implemented in Drupal 8 in every version of Drupal. These tags, HTTP headers, help us to prevent loading not modified content each time. You as developers, of course, you know, hey, just clear your browser cache. These headers about browser caching. Do you know, guys, what is expires header? What does it mean? And my question probably, what is value for this header in Drupal 8, in every version of Drupal, for not static content, for dynamic? For example, for front page, node page, who knows? Yep, you're right. But what's the value of this header? It will be always the same for any version of Drupal. Now, it's date. Are you ready? It's Driss' birthday. Okay, let's move on and talk a little bit about caching in Drupal 8. Who already tried to build something using caching API, modern caching API? Just raise your hand. Okay, so in core, we have two different models enabled by default. It's internal page caching and internal dynamic page caching. Page cache, it's similar, just caching. This model just caching whole HTML response, and that's it. The same is in Drupal 6 and Drupal 7, probably little bit different, but we will talk about this in the next slide. So, let's take a look at my sample site. I painted it for you. We have no problem here to use page caching and deliver to our user full of this page from cache. We will not touch our database. We will not touch some external services. And it's fast way to deliver content. But what will happen in Drupal if we will do this? Right now, we are logged in user. We have some special profile things, user picture, and comment form. Can we use page caching here? No, we cannot. Yep. These things prevent us to use page cache. But again, you're right. We can use dynamic page caching. This paradigm also name it as partial caching, fragment caching in different systems. How it works is basically, if we will try to speak simply, it's caching each block, each region, and each field. Just in this case, parts like comment form and block with my profile will be cached to different, will be put it to different cache type and marked with cache tag and context cache. And when Drupal will render final array, final page, it will grab from these cached blocks and Drupal will not rebuild these blocks each request. So let's review how we can achieve this, because we are developers, and developers also always like some code parts in presentation. Yep. As I mentioned, Drupal 8 has new caching API. What does it mean? Final render array, build array, has some properties in cache section. It's context, text, and max age. Let's talk about max age. It's time when your cache will be valid. After this time, Drupal tries to regenerate, rebuild this part of cache. It's easy. You just put number of seconds. Usually, in core, it's usually persistent. Yeah, and of course, you can use directly this caching, like put number of seconds from this request and include it in build array. Cache context, it's another thing. This thing can help you invalidate cache, depends on request. And this thing means you can invalidate cache for session, for language requested by user, or another stuff like session, user role, and so on. It's a huge list of properties. You can find it on Drupal.org. It doesn't make sense to include this on presentation. Just remember, this will help you invalidate cache depends on user request. Cache tags, the same as context, but depends on data. You can invalidate any cache entity, any cache row, item, depends on entity, Drupal entity. For example, in our case with user menu and avatar, it will be cached by tag user ID and page ID. If this page will change it, Drupal will invalidate cache by tags, and this cache will, in this block, will be rebuilt it again. And yep, it's boring to see code. How we can debug these things, or how we can use this, except not only for database caching? Do you know? Any ideas? Okay, I hope, because it's morning and you're so boring. Drupal sends some special headers. First of them, xDrupal cache tags just allow us to debug what kind of caching what kind of caching tags using on current page. And very important thing is cache tag. Cache tag, it contains the same value as Drupal debugging header, but it allows you to integrate with CDN. CDN providers support cache tag header, and they can cache your content on CDN side and deliver this content really fast to your users without touching your Drupal backend. And if this cache tags will change it on your site, CDN providers will make one more request to check fresh content and deliver to users. And all of these things finally help us and help Drupal build one interesting thing. Name it BigPipe. It's modeled already in core, and I think it's enabled by default for Drupal sites. Who knows? What does it mean? Yep, it's related in Lazy Builder with Lazy Builder, but let me show you how it works. On left side, you can see traditional Drupal 8 site without BigPipe. On right side, BigPipe are enabled, and it's personalized slow content. It's another block with slow content. Yep, it's also comment form, depends on user, but it's fast. We can see on the right side blocks shown one by one. The same presentation. What happens here? Advertisement, sorry. What happens? We are using the same site, but on the right side, BigPipe enabled, and users can see content of your site much faster. But the whole page generation time the same. Why? It's a reasonable question. My first idea was that blogs on left sidebar, they are loaded dynamically using Ajax or something else. But no. Point of BigPipe is that Drupal has Lazy Builder. It's things which allow Drupal to detect blocks, and things depends on cache tags and context. And put rendering of these tags to JavaScript to show main content for your users in first place, and then generate slow blocks and put it to bottom. Yep, here. How it works. If you are not using JS or using JS, Drupal puts special tag with special ID and replace these blocks on page, serves this page from cache, dynamic cache, and then include special JavaScript magic to footer. And this JavaScript, after whole render, just replacing blocks. It's easy, and the huge difference between BigPipe and Ajax lazy loading, it's just one single HTTP request. Whole magic happens in one request. It's like small cheating. So, I was really surprised with this, and it's really great idea. But before we have BigPipe, in my career, I had experience with server-side includes and edge-side includes. The same things which do in BigPipe, but on CDN provider side or varnish cache side. This will be faster than BigPipe, but this took so many resources like varnish configuration. You have to bring DevOps guys to your project. You should be sure that your site ready for this. And how it works. CDN use just different tag and make on server side, make one more request to include HTML from different URL, like this. Whole great part, it's cached on CDN or varnish side. You can imagine, on my local copy using Docker, serve holds this great part took 4 milliseconds. It's really fast. Just compare, Google cannot do this right now. Because network latency and so on, but I can. Here is time of generation of comment form. It's also easy. And difference between BigPipe, I mentioned, it's because we calculate great part and biggest time of this block. Because two these requests will be in parallel mode. And it's really powerful technology because using cache tags and cache context, you also can put in different cache storage these blocks. For example, varnish. We usually use varnish. And we can minimize this time deliver from cache, really. And I have no idea what I can tell you about this, but when I start preparing to this presentation, I found that no model exists for Drupal 8. Okay, it's not on Drupal.org right now, but today this model exists on my laptop. And guys, feel free to ask me about this model, and I will really appreciate if you can help me to finish these things and release it to Drupal.org. It's time to questions. I know my English not perfect, sorry. And right now you have good chance to ask me something if you cannot understand. У нас есть специально обученный человек.
No? Okay. So thank you very much for this presentation. To be honest, I have never worked with ESI technology, and that's why the question is, what about session identifier when CDN will request real server?
Sure.
How it is managed?
The CDN tools like Varnish or Akamai will send a whole bunch of user information like headers, cookies, and so on. This means where is my gray part? This means you have to exclude session for gray part here, and session will be transferred to this part. Like Varnish can send session cookie to special URL which render just only one small block. And for this one small block, you can use dynamic page cache. It also will be served, but from different type of cache. You can, for dynamic page cache, you can use memcache, Redis, and so on. It's not a problem right now, let's say. Да, конечно, без проблем. Я русский лучше понимаю, если что, и говорю по-русски тоже лучше.
Хотелось бы узнать какое-нибудь реальное применение. Вот эта теория, конечно, хорошо, а есть какое-нибудь реальное применение?
Да, реально, вот прям есть, серьезно. Мы делали очень большой интранет-сайт на 7-м Drupal. Это все было когда-то для 7-го Drupal, сейчас работает для 8-го. И для 8-го это все работает намного лучше. Проблема была в том, что это интранет-сайт. Был рассчитан на 150 тысяч пользователей онлайн. Одновременно. Это, грубо говоря, там, система документооборота, маленькая социалочка, плюс там форум, еще что-то для сотрудников большой компании. Вы можете представить, сколько нам ресурсов бы понадобилось, сколько серверов, чтобы запустить это для 150 тысяч пользователей, которые должны быть онлайн на Drupal 7. Не было PHP 7, был PHP 5.6. У нас здесь вот Роман, он может сказать, Drupal админ, они знают. И вот было принято решение о том, что мы поставим Varnish как кэширующий прокси. И, в общем-то, контент, он, конечно, обновляется динамически, но у нас есть какое-то время, чтобы не перезапирать его заново. Например, мы можем закэшировать основной там, текст статьи на 5 минут. Для пользователя это не сильно критично. Но зато мы точно знаем, что если туда ввальнется 100 тысяч пользователей почитать, мы это спокойно отработаем. Когда это все вышло онлайн в продакшн, пилотная версия выжила на, по-моему, там порядка 10 гигабайт оперативки. Было и там 8 ядер. Насколько я знаю, этот продукт доживет до сих пор, и они не переехали на 2 сервера даже. Только за счет этого, вот за то, что мы закэшировали все это частями, и эти части обновлялись, скажем так, редко. Прикол в том, что вы для каждого пользователя создаете свой личный набор кэша. Конечно, у вас растет там, место на диске, у вас растет место в памяти, потому что вы действительно для каждого пользователя создаете свой набор кэшей. Но это работает быстро, и это может экономить ваши ресурсы. С Drupal 7 да, потому что для Drupal 7 был только один модуль, AusCache, который позволял это делать. Он не предназначен был для этого, но он позволял, давайте так. Конкретно вот на имплементацию вот этой вот всей штуки на Drupal 7 было затрачено там порядка 1,5 месяцев. Причина только потому, что AusCache — это специальный модуль, и вы должны были заменить у себя в коде и в контрибных модулях все части, где вы используете какие-то персональные данные пользователя, ну, юзера. Если вы используете username, то это должна быть специальная функция, которая вызывает username. То бишь эта функция подменяет HTML на специальный тег, который идет на Varnish и забирает его там. Благо, в Drupal 8 это есть BigPipe, и BigPipe уже имеет этот механизм для замены пользовательского контента на теги. Модуль ESI делает всего лишь простую вещь. Он вместо тегов ESI, BigPipe делает тег ESI. И один контроллер, который позволяет рендерить вам блоки и какие-то вещи, entity, просто по URL.
Скажи, пожалуйста, про BigPipe. Может быть, я неправильно понял. Ты сказал, что это все в рамках одного реквеста происходит. Но как эти блоки получают свои данные и потом рендерятся? Разве это не AJAX-реквесты будут?
Немножко сложнее. Первый реквест BigPipe, когда делает, появляются теги, span с ID-шками, потом делаются AJAX-реквесты, это заполняется кэш. Второй реквест, все данные, которые вам нужны для этих блоков, будут в JS, в футере. То есть это такая комплексная фишка, когда первый реквест BigPipe делает, действительно там нет этих данных, они делаются через AJAX. Но когда вы попытаетесь обновить страницу, эти данные уже будут на этой же странице, потому что сработал кэш-контекст и кэш-текст. И данные, которые вы пытались до этого загрузить через AJAX, уже присутствуют в футере на странице. В общем-то, поэтому я сказал, что это можно достичь через один реквест. И, собственно, BigPipe — это тоже JS-часть. JS через просто какое-то время ищет контент в футере на странице. Если он появляется, то блок заменяется. Все. Еще вопросики?
У меня вопросик. Сколько, ты говорил, ресурсы экономится, но место на диске увеличивается? На 1000 юзеров сколько места? О каком количестве места на пользователя кэша мы говорим?
Это очень сильно зависит от сайта.
А нельзя так пальцем в небо?
Нет,
примерно?
нет. К сожалению, нельзя. Вот здесь вы сможете найти... Андрей. Да, Роман. Да, давай, хорошо. Не успел я соскочить.
Игорь, спасибо за доклад. Действительно, цифры, которые ты показал здесь, вот такие. И мы еще не использовали вот ESI с Drupal 8, но берем на вооружение. Очень круто. Спасибо.
Да, я с радостью, на самом деле, свяжись со мной, я помогу вам с этим. Там много с чем можно играться, вплоть до того, что когда Varnish делает request и загружает эту часть, отдельный блочок HTML-блочка с Drupal, там есть TTL, можно выставить TTL, например, 5. Значит, он раз в 5 реквестов и будет это делать. Да, очень. Но опять же, это специфичная вещь для проекта. Для большинства проектов подходит BigPipe, отлично, и это работает. Если вы хотите прям супер перформанс, пожалуйста, есть ESI. Вот. Здесь я немножко поделился ссылками, где это все рыл, копал. Котиков я выдирал с первой ссылки, Simon's Cat. Меня заставили организаторы снять майку PHP User Group, но вы должны знать о том, что в Минске еще есть PHP User Community. Приходите иногда на него. Обязательно я должен вам сказать, что завтра будет Contribution Day. И, возможно, я не уверен, правда, но, возможно, я попробую даже пропихнуть этот модуль ESI для Drupal 8 на завтра. Потому что идея-то родилась буквально тут позавчера, чтобы вы понимали. Да, буду всех рад видеть, я обязательно там буду сам. И если больше нету никаких вопросов, если все понятно, всем пока. А если непонятно, то ловите меня в кулуарах, я буду здесь где-нибудь. Спасибо большое.